And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, Director at WEIU. My co-host is Gerard Singleton. Welcome, Gerard.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Good to be here.
It's good to be here. It's good to be seen on this beautiful Monday in Coles County. We're talking today to Diana Glosser and Brenda Pierce from the local Master Gardeners program. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad to be here.
So I guess we'll just start off for people who don't know about the Illinois Master Gardener program and what all you do. Go ahead and let us know.
We are volunteers that work in Coles, Moultrie, Douglas, Cumberland, and Shelby counties. And we just love working with plants and doing things for the community with our vegetable gardens and
the flower garden.
And the flower gardens, the Idea Garden at Sarah Bush Lincoln. And yeah, we just love doing
that and
that
providing.
and the community of the group itself, and yeah.
We also do a number of educational programs within the community. Sometimes it is homeschoolers, it could be church groups, it could be in collaboration with Douglas Hart Foundation or anyone who has questions. And we provide a telephone-in service called Horticulture Hotline. I was afraid I'd stumble over that. And that is when individuals in the community have questions, they can call in and say, hey, let me send you a picture of my tree and this is what it's doing. Can you give me some advice?
Okay. I guess, and how many of there are you in your area? How many Master Gardeners in your area?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure.
In our 5 counties currently, I think the number is right about 40 who are active.
Nice. And I was going to ask, are there any scheduled meetings that you all have to where you could get a consensus of what activities you'll be doing and then you go out and...
Yes, we have a monthly meeting the first Tuesday of every month, and usually that's held at Sarah Bush Hospital, but that can change, and we plan programs and we assign committees and basically go from there.
Nice.
And when did the program actually begin in this area?
In this area, last year we celebrated 30 years, thanks to Rose Myers Bradley. And the extension nationwide started 50 years ago, but in Illinois, we were one of the first organizations.
Okay.
So.
And then is there a history of like how it started and why, or do you even know any of that? I always like to get a little backstory.
Well, as with many organizations, there are reorganizations, pretty periodically, and they were looking at how to maximize staff and how to have a larger pool of individuals who could answer those questions. So there is about a 12-week training for Master Gardeners. It does involve some take-home tests, and you don't have to always be able to spell stuff, that kind of thing. So it's not that kind of school. But then that prepares you, gives you the resources you need to be able to work with individuals and answer questions.
Okay.
I would ask, so being that we're just now hitting February, how would you describe last year as with the Master Gardeners? Anything noteworthy to report, or?
Well, I think we had a really good year. We had Spring into Gardening, and we had renovations to our garden that we provide food for the community with behind the hospital, and that's our large garden. And I can't tell you exactly how many pounds that were distributed, but we distributed to quite a few of the local
to the food pantries,
yes.
Well over 10,000 pounds.
Okay. Ooh. And then really the spring into gardening is really getting ready to start now, right? And
yes.
Then we also have a class that goes along with that. Is that part of the program so people can get certified to be a Master Gardener?
The class is actually starting next week.
Okay.
For the in-person class, there's also an totally online option and a hybrid option. So that's one of the good things that came out of COVID and having to change how we delivered education. Those options are offered to potential volunteer members of Master Gardeners. As far as Spring into Gardening, this is for the community. This is since 2009. We've been offering that particular program. And it is February. We know today is not going to last.
Yeah, unfortunately.
this fake spring is going to turn cold on us again. but it is an opportunity to be with like-minded people, hear about some of the trends, get excited about what you want to do, and maybe begin planning your garden.
I would ask, so along those lines of planning and gardening and the educational aspect, I want to ask, what are some of the most valuable things you've learned in terms of just being in the network of master gardeners and some of your favorite practices to employ?
Oh my gosh, I have learned so much from the other Master Gardeners and from the U of I Extension learning programs like the Four Seasons programs. Yes, my garden is much better for it, I can tell you. I've been doing this Master Gardener program for 5 years, and it is really exciting to learn the different things. And I've learned so much more about trees that I didn't know. I think that was probably something I really hadn't learned a lot about in the past, but yes, now when I plant a tree in my yard, there's a lot of things I think about that I wouldn't have thought about before.
And you?
Well, and mostly my big thing was it's okay to fail. You know, you try things and they either work or they don't. Where I live, we have deer. So I've tried all kinds of things over the years to kind of keep them out, or you just, come to terms with we live together in nature. And sometimes they're going to win. So then you kind of shift. What your growing is.
It helps to have 40 acres of beans around your house. They don't really mess with your
That's
yard
true.
too much.
You lucky woman.
So let's talk about the Master Gardener program. You said it's a 12-week program. For someone who's interested or might be interested, they have a week or so to make that decision. Can you tell us a little bit what they're going to do, maybe weeks 1 through 4, 5 through 8 as they go through a little bit?
Some of the topics they're going to cover are botany and horticulture, and I don't want that to sound scary. Ornithology, learning about birds. Learning about insects, entomology, basic hands-on kinds of things like how to work with soil, how to test soil, what kinds of things grow best in what growing conditions, understanding what plant needs are, how much water, how much sunlight, if they need fertilizer. A lot of it is to hook into resources so you know where to go for information, because there are a lot of pests out there, or there are, lawn questions. That's a totally different kind of growing process as well.
Okay.
So me coming from a more urbanized area, coming down to Charleston has actually been my first experience being somewhere so rural where agriculture is such a big part of the culture here. And so would you have any tips for people who maybe don't have the space, or maybe who aren't in an environment to maybe do things to scale?
Oh, there's so many opportunities for the urban gardener. Pots are your friend. If you've got any kind of space, you can grow cherry tomatoes, you can grow flowers. You're not limited just because you're an urban area.
And then is there an expense or any cost to go through the program?
There is a cost for the training, mostly because of the materials that you get. You get a 3-inch binder of very high quality educational materials. And Jeff, I'm not quite certain what that cost is, but if you just search Coles County Master Gardeners, it will take you to our local extension site, and then you can find out that information.
And Brenda, you were telling me off mic, you're from the Sullivan area, and you would like to
Yes.
get a few more Sullivan area, Moultrie County people involved?
We'd like to encourage more from the other counties other than Coles to, like Shelby and Moultrie and Douglas and Cumberland. We do some great things, and if you feel like you want to expand your gardening knowledge, trees, lawns, there's so many different topics that they cover. So it's a great experience.
And along those lines, I would ask, can you comment on sort of the value of informing people about these types of things? Because me coming from the city, it is really jarring to see, like, to be able to understand the nature around you and have that connection with it and just understand how it works. So can you just explain, like, the value of gaining said knowledge and starting on that process of learning more and more as you go?
Well, I think gaining knowledge, of course, is always important, but I think sometimes you learn things that you didn't even know you wanted to learn. And I think that's true in a lot of things in life. But, people who are interested in gardening, playing in the dirt, as I call it, we come together and expand on what you may do it already and get a little more knowledge and like I said, the community of the Master Gardeners program with other people who are into the same thing you are.
Anything you want to add, Diana?
Yeah, I think that I would like to add, one of the things that I've seen is that sense of accomplishment. You can, no matter what age you work with, if someone is taking even a small container like a coffee cup, and you're showing them how to put dirt in and how to plant, whether it's a seed or a plant with a few little roots, and then you come back and check with them in a few weeks, and they're talking about how it's growing, mine grew more than yours did. Kids are going to do that. Well, adults too. So, but that gives you permission. It feels like it gives you permission to try things.
Let's say that someone's not a part of the program. Can they still call you to try to get some advice or expertise? How's that work from the public point of view?
Absolutely. Anyone can call the extension office, 217-345-7034, and say, I have a question for a master gardener, or I have a horticulture question.
Okay.
Can you help me? And they will take that information, they put it, we've all gone electronics, so they put it into a format, and then it's sent out to a master gardener to begin preparing an answer for them.
Are there any new gardening trends or habits or planting habits that we're going to see this in the spring of 2025 here in the Coles County area?
Well, I think one of the hot things is if you have a small space, if you could think about your own, what am I willing to put into it? And I only have a certain amount of time, a certain amount of energy, then how to think small, because most people think, oh, if I'm going to have a garden, it should be like 10 by 20 feet, something more than I'm interested in. But it can be done with pots on even a windowsill, a small balcony, on a porch, that kind of thing. You can hang, there are some things you can hang tomatoes from, and then they grow down, which is really great for those cherry tomatoes. That focus on people and that interaction between people and nature and how good it is for your health. It helps you relax, reduce stress, can reduce your blood pressure. There are so many things about that. So there are a number of groups led by Grand Prairie Friends right now, focusing on 1,000 hours outdoors to encourage people to be out of doors, whether you are participating in sports or other physical activities, or whether you're gardening or whatever makes you happy.
People of my generations, I've noticed a trend that people are attracted to more of the self-sufficiency aspect of gardening and cultivating,
Yes.
like especially like edibles and succulents and things like that. And so, do you have any suggestions on like people who may be beginning for like either dietary needs or even just for hobbyist reasons, like whether it be
and
tomatoes
I think your
or
generation grew up with organic, and I'm a little older, and my generation, we were organic, but we didn't know it because most people had their own gardens. But for younger people, cherry tomatoes would be a good place to start, grown in a pot. It would be organic. They're easy to grow, and start there. Herbs are wonderful to grow. Chives are very easy on the windowsill, and you can start there. And I think it's one of those things where when you start and you have some success with it, then you just want to keep doing. And the next thing you know, you have 20 things on your in the kitchen growing.
And with Brenda's suggestions, I would add a salad bowl, which is a bowl filled with dirt, and you grow some different kinds of leaf lettuce. So then you can have some lettuce with those cherry tomatoes with chives on top, and then you just snip that lettuce, make your own bowl to eat that night.
And lettuce is one of the first things you can grow in the spring, so you can have some success right away. That's very easy. And
interesting.
That was my next question. As I know today's kind of an anomaly, it's really warm in Coles County today. But when does kind of the planting season start for some of this stuff? If they're doing it inside, can you do it anytime? Go through some of those details.
well, it depends on if you're growing perennials or annuals. So around here, usually about Mother's Day is when you can start planting things out. But if you're doing perennials, you can do that a little earlier. And because I'm in April, I'm digging things up and dividing them and replanting them.
The other thing that's kind of been talked about is climate change, or climate. The months are kind of different. Has that affected kind of? Have you seen it over the past few years where things grow differently now here in our area?
I have definitely. I planted a crepe myrtle last year because a crepe myrtle, which is traditionally grown in southern Illinois, and I planted one last year, and I have high hopes for it because things have tended to be warmer, and I'm hoping, and they've actually changed our zone.
The USDA last year redid the hardiness zone. And you can look up USDA hardiness zones and see that our area is in 6A and 6B, but that was a shift. We're in a different climate zone than we were in the 70s.
Does that mean it's warmer here, and so gardening can start earlier?
You can start a little earlier. There's a caveat with that. You can start earlier knowing that, you can get a late snow, so.
Trying not to say that word anymore.
Oh, yeah, really.
And prices have been, for food has gone up, since COVID anyway. Also, you can also save a little money by starting some type of garden, whether it's just a couple of things or everything, correct?
Oh, definitely.
Has there any studies been done that about money you could save?
I think anybody who's grown their own vegetable garden, they've done their own study and will tell you the savings is significant.
Okay.
And that the quality. They're really excited about the quality and the way that it tastes, that even buying from our area good organic materials, food, it's not always as good as what you grow.
So here in Central Illinois, what are some of the challenges you face in terms of, I guess, horticulture?
Late frost.
That's the big one.
That's the big one, yeah.
Deer at Diana's.
Yeah.
Deer at Diana's. I don't really have a problem with deer.
People have rabbits. And then in the last 3 or 4 years, moles or voles, those little burrowing animals that will eat your bulbs.
All the little holes all over the...
Those little holes, yes.
I've asked every
lumpy
master
things.
gardener how to get rid of those, and nobody seems to know. I have a mole condo thing going at my house.
You make your neighbor's yard really attractive.
running a bed and breakfast.
And some of the things that you do for the community, the Idea Garden and some of the vegetables actually go to some good causes as well. Would you talk about that?
They've been, one of our master gardeners is really good about weighing them and taking them and dividing them up between the area food pantries. So, yeah, I think, what did you say, 10,000 pounds
at least
last year?
10,000,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so it's been a great success, and he says people are waiting for him to come. So, and I know we're not the only group who does
Yeah.
that.
And we really focused on the foods that we know that people in this area like, that when the food pantry gets them,
Like
they
tomatoes, lettuce, cherry, things like
and
that.
people understand how to use them. But also there have been programs done through the pantries from other individuals who are giving them recipes and preparation suggestions.
There you go.
So it's a partnership.
And looking at things from that more philanthropic angle with donating your proceeds and things like that, if people want to get involved with the Master Gardeners, is there a way they can specifically be like, okay, I want to be involved in distribution, or I want to be involved in production, or I want to be involved in different aspects of the yields from these different endeavors you do?
Absolutely. We do recommend that all of our members, when they choose what they do, that they try. I tell them to try everything, because you find groups that you really like to be with, or you really hadn't considered an aspect of it that really you get really excited about. So to try everything from that food production. And master gardeners can also grow an extra row and then donate that to the food pantry as well.
We're talking today to Diana Glosser and Brenda Pierce from the Coles County Master Gardeners Program. Can you guys, would you mind giving a little bit of your own background about, how you got into gardening and planning and the things that you're doing?
Well, for me, my grandparents and parents always had a garden, so it was just natural for me to know certain things about it. And when I got married, that was one of the things I wanted to do when we had our first home, was to plant a garden. And so it's just always been something I'm interested in. And I did marry a farmer, so.
And he's here, right?
And he's here. And when we moved out to the farm, we moved onto his grandparents' place. And fortunately for me, she left me a wonderful strawberry bed and rhubarb patch.
Oh, nice.
So I was really fortunate there, and then I could, take over her garden and make it grow.
There you go.
My grandpa had a huge garden, and the neighbor 2 doors down had this beautiful English garden in her backyard, which was mostly flowers and that kind of thing. And combining flowers and vegetables, that goes back to your question earlier, within the same bed is becoming a trend in 2025. It's a growing trend from previous years.
Why do you think that is?
I think because it's space that's already there and cultivated and doesn't take a lot of soil preparation, and it gives color to your vegetable garden, having some flowers in it, or sticking a tomato plant in an otherwise flower
Okay.
garden. So,
Interesting.
And for those who are looking to grow things to eat, do you have any maybe new or inventive storage solutions in terms of like preserving or things like that you found interesting, or something that may have surprised you learning?
I don't know. I spent years canning, and then I decided, you know what, freezing's a lot easier. So now I pretty much freeze everything. And for me, that just makes it easier, especially. And I did want to add to what Diana was saying about the Master Gardener program. Anybody can join the program. If you have mobility issues, we have parts of the program that definitely you can be a part of, and you don't have to be out there in the garden digging up plants or planting plants and digging up weeds. But there's plenty of other opportunities like the kids programming. What else, Diane?
the kids programming, or we need someone to go to Arthur to do a program, and they happen to live in that area, to do a program with their library, or whatever. We try to match the need to the individual.
I want to go back to what Gerard said to you, Brenda. You said you freeze a lot of stuff. Now, can every type of vegetable
Yeah, I was
be
gonna say,
frozen,
is there a
or
difference?
are there certain that you can't?
I do not freeze tomatoes.
Okay.
I don't know if you can or not, but everything else pretty much.
That was indictment.
But
But
but they need to be peeled first, and it's better if you just go ahead and make them into tomato sauce,
Okay.
or into spaghetti sauce, and then freeze that.
Ah, see, that's
See, it's a-
That was going to be my next question. Anything about?
It's a texture thing for me. So
Fair enough.
Now we've talked a lot about the vegetables and a little bit about flowers, but what about like fruit? I mean, strawberries, watermelon. Around here, do either of you do that, or tips on that stuff?
well, I was going to say I've got.
Well, you
I've
had that
got,
beautiful patch.
Well, I've got a beautiful strawberry patch, which is getting getting some vinca in it, so I got to clean that out. But I planted a peach tree 4 years ago, and I was told all these things I was supposed to do, and I kind of didn't. And I've gotten some amazing peaches off of it, so I don't know what I've done right. But,
Yeah.
I'm going to guess the farmer husband was helping. When he went
well,
looking.
but anybody, even in town, if you've got a little space, some of the fruit trees, apple trees, the peach trees, the cherry trees, are not big trees, so they can be grown in the landscape. And it's just really nice to be able to pick your own fruit and freeze it, can it, make a pie, muffins, whatever. And I've started blueberries, and they're not very big yet, but I've been getting a pretty good crop off the blueberries.
There you go.
Say with the homesteading trends, that self-reliance, doing everything myself, there's a renewed interest in drying fruit, drying some vegetables like sun-dried tomatoes, or to make fruit leather. You take those
I've heard about
strawberries,
that.
end of the season where they're just maybe a little too ripe, you mash it out and put it in a thin layer to dry it, that kind of thing. So you think of fruit roll-ups,
Oh, that's
Same
that's
kind of-
really
I've
interesting.
seen that one of those survival shows I like to watch.
It's almost like pemmican, almost I guess, like
yeah,
dried.
if it
yeah.
were meat and blueberries is pretty much what pemmican is.
Mm.
And then, but it's that same drying process.
And the
The-
fruits,
Interesting.
No, go ahead.
The fruits like this, the strawberries, the blueberries, they come back every year. So, just keeping them healthy is important, but for the most part, they're pretty self-sufficient. So,
And some of the breakout sessions for Spring into Gardening, which is happening March 1st at Wesley United Methodist Church, are going to include introduction to greenhouse practices, So maybe, working with a very small greenhouse at your own home, composting, what do I do with my leftover vegetables, for example? Companion planting, putting plants together, learning how their needs to grow are very similar to get the best kind of growth. Brenda mentioned herbs, and you could start that with 3 little cups on a windowsill. Choosing where to plant my tree. Is that the tree that I pick, is it going to do well there? And shade gardens. One of the things that I'm struggling with is I've lived in this house now 25 years, so trees that were 15 feet tall are now close to 50 feet tall. So much more of my yard is shaded, so that, plants need a certain number of daylight hours in full sun. And those who are just looking for something fun and exciting, our keynote speaker, who is coming down from the Chicago area. She has a business called, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Astor Gardens. Her name's Amanda Thompson. And she just brings the best amount of fun to anything. Oh, thank
she is
you.
right
There
there.
it is, right there. And it does give you that QR code to register. It's $25 to pre-register, and you pick 2 of the 6 breakout sections, and if you have questions, you can contact the extension office in Mattoon.
There you go. A couple more minutes with Diana and Brenda today from the Coles County Master Gardens. I know the word that kind of came about a few years ago, we may have talked about this last time you were on, Diana, or maybe a couple of us, superfoods, and how they're so much better for you than regular foods. Is there anything that people can grow? I know blueberries have been brought up as a superfood. Any other things?
I think blueberries is probably the most common one that people are familiar with. Since my background is nutrition, I will say that, unfortunately, we're all looking for that quick fix, and it really comes down to what Grandma said, was eat a variety of foods
Okay.
in moderation, exercise, and get good rest. So
Now, that sounds like a mom. there,
what
Brenda.
things are a superfood for a specific kind of maybe you have a disease or something, or you're just wanting the extra boost for good health. It really comes down to you have to do those other things first.
Okay.
Because if you don't have that basic nutrition, rest, and all of that there, then the superfood is not going to be nearly as effective as what they want you to believe.
All right. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here, Brenda?
Like Grandma said, eat your veggies.
Eat your veggies
There you
and
go.
your fruit.
All right. We a couple of silly questions. All-time favorite vegetable to grow?
Broccoli.
Brenda?
Tomatoes.
How about a flower? Your favorite flower to grow?
Daylilies.
Poppies.
There you go. Biggest strength as a gardener is?
Willing to learn.
Oh, I was going to take that one.
Oh, sorry about that, Brenda.
And my favorite question, is there a vegetable you will not eat?
Okra.
Okra.
Lima beans.
J-Rod? What about you? We'll put you on that one.
Spinach, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, spinach.
Fresh or
Fresh?
cooked?
Cooked. I can't do. It's a texture thing. Cooked spinach, expressly.
Like in a can is
Yes, that's same reason for okra. Can't do it.
But in a salad, it's delicious.
Yeah, and salad's fine.